As a side note, for reasons I don't really understand.
Side note, it annoys me greatly that...
Side note, there are many people who can lay claim to inventing the telephone.
Now, quick side note, I have no clue what forced my loot is supposed to mean. Side note, there were/are other self-ballasted lamps besides just fluorescent. Side note, here in the US we use the term heat pump. As a curious side note, Sony intended for that new format to supplant the venerable compact cassette.
I'd like to take another brief side note. There's something magical about slide film to me.
Side note, a lot of you may be asking why an electric car...
As a side note, you may have noticed I used a clip of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh, and quick side note, this isn't a video on how dimmer switches work. Side note, I often tout my Midwesternness.
Side note, it's no coincidence that the 60 Hz refresh rate,
which, side note, did you know that's where the term footage comes from? Side note, I actually have a nicer rice cooker. It's a good lead-in to this side note. Side note, there is a weird difference between 3-prong plugs and 2-prong. Side note, this is unrelated to the CED story.
As a side note, I like the term ground fault circuit interrupter better.
Side note, I think Scott Joplin...
Quick side notes. This video discusses the format war.
But first, one last side note. I promise this is the last one.